Welcome back to the Be Happy Never Content show, aka the Steven Sulley Study. Thank you for recent comments. I've had a few people reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook. I really always appreciate your messages, and I hope you're getting value from my podcast. If you are, I would love you to subscribe, recommend me to a friend or family member, and basically spread the word. My goal is to scale my podcast, and eventually I want to monetize my podcast, but I realize I can't do that without giving value, and I can't do that without having a client or an audience base. So therefore I'm always looking to step up the content, and I'm responding to your to some of your comments. I've had a few comments over the last couple of weeks, even back in last year, about doing some other episodes on sales. So this one is going to be a short one on sales, and I really hope that no matter what kind of sales that you're in, whether it's financial sales or just basically anything, that this is going to help you. I'm a firm believer, and I always preach about this, that regardless what business that you're in, nothing happens unless you have a good marketing sales team and a sales strategy. You could have the best product in the world, the best invention in the world, the best system, the best service, but without selling it, it's never going to get anywhere. So I believe the most important thing that, let's say, an entrepreneur needs to develop is the art of communication and the art of selling, persuasion and closing. It's definitely a skill that is massively underrated, and I can tell you this, sales is quite a daunting place when it's very, very tough. I've seen a lot of people feel anxious, nervous, slightly depressed over it. But I've also seen people flourish, and they've actually become self-made millionaires because of it. And they've used that mindset, that skill set to transfer into bigger businesses and also into their family life. And they've got a fairly congruent and all-rounded lifestyle thanks to sales. And I would like to say I'm slightly a product of that. I'm not saying I'm the wealthiest person in the world. I'm far from it. I'm not the most successful. I'm not even saying I'm perfect in any way, shape or form. But what I'm saying, I was fairly, a simple, stupid kid at school. I didn't really have much going for me as far as qualifications and that are concerned. So the moment I found sales, it was almost like my calling. And I've got to say, most things in my life now, even things that I wouldn't have even dreamt had a direct correlation towards sales, I found them on reflection, and after examining my progress and stuff, I've seen that there is a direct influence from sales, and it's really, really, really helped me. I'm definitely going to be suggesting, advising and conditioning my own son to take up two things in his life, boxing and also sales, because I believe these two things will serve you very, very well in life. I believe they both build confidence. Obviously, boxing builds fitness. Sales builds a way of you communicating. One makes you fit. And I also think that even in sales builds up your cardio in some ways, because you need to be, hitting your sales calls or making your sales, pursuing your targets every single day. You're going to be 100% on it from the moment you get into your office to the moment that you leave, and that could be a 6, 7, 8, 10 hour day. And I believe that sales is definitely an area that can make you very, very successful, very wealthy, build your confidence, shape your character, and is part of becoming the best version of you. So let me get to it. When I first got into sales, when I was roughly about 19, 20 years of age, when I was, let's say, a junior, they told me that when I'm dealing and qualifying prospects who are eventually going to become clients, hopefully, they needed to be qualified in three main areas. Number one, that they have an interest in your product, in your service, in your brand, in you, into your company. The second thing, can they make their own decisions? Do they need to consult with someone, or, is it physically possible for them to make their own decisions? And the last one is, do they have the financial wherewithal or the capability? Do they have the money to invest or buy into your product or your service, your system, or whatever that you're trying to promote? So just looking at these, is the person interested? Of course, there's no point, and it's stupid of you to try and pitch someone who is not or qualify that person who is not going to be interested in your product. Now, there is that rule that people can't be interested in a product or a service or your company or your system unless they first get taught something, because interest is going to be it's going to stem from being taught something, and only at that point will you recognise if there's interest there. But I'm talking about at the back end of your first call. There's no point of shoving something down someone's throat unless it's really compatible to their life, their goals, their vision, their hot button, as people call it. There's just no point. And I can tell you this from first-hand experience, when I was younger, when I first got into sales, stuffing something down someone's throat and forcing them almost to buy something, which is completely stupid of you, will only come back to bite you in the arse later on. It's just no point. Rather than having a short-sighted mindset and view on things, you might as well play the long game. It's always going to be better for you and your family, and also your business investment portfolio, having that mindset. So the second one, can they make their own decisions? Now, I believe if you've got excitement, energy, enthusiasm, and you're delivering your presentation in a very, very tenacious, methodical, and pumped up way, they're going to feel compelled, and they're going to, want to participate and take some kind of action. And I feel at that point, even these people that consult financial advisors, accountants, their spouses, their peers, their colleagues, their friends, their family, those kind of people. I think if you make something so compelling enough, they're going to do it anyway. Myself, I've had experiment I made of myself, which was food nutrition. I've come off of eating meat for over 14 months now, and I saw a lot of compelling arguments from very well-respected people who support a westernized diet, which forms a lot of white meats and red meats and all kinds of different things, and they're very, very healthy. I also spoke to vegan people, vegetarians, pescatarians, and I come up with my own kind of take on it, and I ran with an experiment, and I've got to say I feel more energized. I feel I have better quality sleep. I'm more aware, and I just feel all round a better sense of energy, because I've tweaked my diet. So let me go back to the point. I was almost advised by people that no, you should be eating red meat at least once a week, and you should be eating chicken, that kind of stuff. I went against it because the evidence I got was so compelling from other people, which, that suggested that it wasn't right for me, that I went against it. But sometimes, going back to sales, if the individual has got this power of attorney over their estate or their finances, they're definitely not the right people to be presenting to, pitching to. And again, if you're short-sighted and you're just trying to get the sale over the line just for the sheer sake of it, just to meet a target, it's going to come back to bite you in the arse. The next one, do they have the finances? Now, again, me growing as a person, and even a bit spiritually, and just becoming a bit more fucking professional, and just becoming a fucking adult, basically. And also, I was on the mindset before that even if you do a good enough job, everyone can find the money. It's not always the best view to take, unless your product is so safe and it's going to really, really benefit them. They're going to make an income from it or something like that. It's going to change their life for the better. Only in certain scenarios can you kind of, steer someone towards that way. You can't ever advise them, give them financial advice unless you're regulated by the FCA or something like that. But making suggestions, giving them case studies and that kind of thing. But there's basically no point of pitching to someone if they can't afford your product. And if they were to go out there and borrow the money, it's going to put them under a lot of stress. So these three things were almost like the textbook stuff that you need to qualify to make sure that your client is eligible for you to give them a phone call back, or your client to give them a phone call back. Let's say a senior person, which some people will call a closer. You're opening up the call, so therefore you hand it over to a closer. But unless you got these three things down, we used to get ridiculed by the more senior people, saying that if you sent over a lead or a brochure, or you've opened up someone and you haven't qualified them in the three areas, then you're sending over a bit of wood, and you would be known as someone that does a shit fucking job, basically. I've got another one which I believe is very, very true, very, very important, and it's part of the, as well as having those three, the interest, can they make their own decisions, the finances. Here's the last one, which I think is very, very important. Can you establish control? Can you control the sales call? Now, what do I mean by this? I believe they got the money, they're interested, and they can make their own decisions, but you can't establish control. It's almost not qualifying that lead as well, and you're not qualifying whether they should be eligible for another phone call back by yourself or a more senior person later on. You need to establish whether you can take control of the sales call, because if you don't, you might end up with a headache client, and it's just no point again. Let me give an example, and this is completely different, but I just want to try and prove a point. If I was going to do a parachute jump, a tandem jump, where you're strapped to a professional parachuter, if that's the right term for it, and you had to be qualified, your age, your height, your weight, blood pressure, all round the fitness test. But for some reason, you just kept on wriggling, and you kept on becoming fidgety, and you kept on becoming very, very hard work to, you were just, basically the person that you're strapped to just cannot maintain control of you, and it was just hard work. You're going to put things in danger. So a sales call or a client, you've got to establish if you can make some, you can control the sale. So here's what I mean by that. When I open up a conversation, whether I'm speaking to someone for the first time, people used to call this, you could say a cold call back in the day. You could have a pre-qualified lead, so they're expecting your call, but they don't know what it's about. As far as your company's concerned or your product's concerned, or it could be an opt-in lead, like a pay-per-click campaign, Google ad campaign. It could be a Facebook lead. It could be whatever. The first thing I would do is give them a small bit of information, and then go straight away for a sense of control, which is to ask them to grab a pen and piece of paper. I feel I've got a saying: allow the pen to be your friend. That pen will allow you to get them to write down key points to your sales presentation, and therefore they're much more likely to follow the sales call through, or be ready for the next call from a more senior person than yourself on a later date, because they've written some sort of stuff down. For those people who are counting on your ability just to get someone excited, but believe they're going to follow that sale through just on the sheer excitement, you're kidding yourself. I used to believe that, but what happens is someone would get so excited, but in 24 hours, 48 hours, a few days later, they're going to have this in the chat, and that in the chat is going to be, Steve, why are you purchasing this? You've got no notes, you don't really know this person, you never tried the product, and you don't know the company that well. Therefore, is it a really good idea that you're going to participate in this product or this service or this system? And kind of almost logic will set in at that point, and that's when the person is going to go into cold feet scenario. They're just going to be kind of resentful, and basically at that point they're going to start making up stuff. They're going to say stuff to you. No, I didn't receive the brochure or the email that you were meant to send out to me. Oh no, I've got to move away, or I've come down with a sickness. And buyers are liars. I lie sometimes when salespeople are trying to present to me, and I know many of you who've been in a scenario where you've been forced to make a sales decision. You're probably going to end up, unfortunately, sometimes telling a little bit of a bluff, a little bit of a white lie, just to get out of that scenario. Shouldn't do it. I definitely shouldn't do it, but unfortunately, it has happened before in the past. And as a salesperson, or as sales staff, they get very, very angry and defensive about this, and they start trying to. At that point, if someone's trying to catch a client out, you've already lost a sale, and there's just no point. So again, going for the pen and piece of paper, they're going to write down notes, and at the end of that sales call, when the excitement drops off, they're going to buy based upon not only excitement that they had, but also the logic. So you're going to get them to write down key logical things about your products, your company, case studies, which should keep the deal in bed. And even if they fall off a little bit, you can go back to that pen and piece of paper on the next call and refer them to certain points. And make sure that all your points are definitely true, they're organic, they're real, and get them to research it for themselves. For me, when I'm presenting something, I like them to, go out there and double check what I'm saying, because it builds credibility. It builds, validation in the market and that kind of thing. So allow the pen to be your friend. Get them to write down some keynotes. Clients buying on the excitement. Yes, the transfer of enthusiasm is definitely the definition of a sale. But what keeps them in the sale is the logic. People buy an logic, people buy an emotion, they buy an excitement, and you need to have a double-edged sword. If it's too logical and if it's too, if you base your pitch on facts and figures all the time, that's going to be boring. They're not going to feel compelled to do it. At the same time, if you make things so compelling because you're so enthusiastic, but then at the back end of it, they have no facts, figures, they're going to fall out. You need the best of both worlds. And you need to make things simple. Another way to establish control is by getting them on the website and walking them through key points on there. The other way to establish control is by sitting down with someone if you're doing a face-to-face presentation. Yes, also going through the website, but also the brochure as well, and literally walking them through it. Because trying to understand something, I'm a very busy guy. I've got a boxing match coming up. I need to stay fit on that. I'm on that. I've got businesses. I sell myself. I consult for a couple of people. I got a property company. Got a missus, got a baby. When I get a brochure through the door, even when I get text messages, sometimes I can't read everything. I simply don't have, let's say, the time in the day to read everything. I'm only going to prioritize which I feel is the most important. And let's be fair, sometimes when I receive an email or a brochure, I might get round to it eventually, but immediately I won't. So going through it with that client or that prospect is going to be very, very, very important. Like I say, I try and get that pen. I go for the pen, should I say, every single time when I get on a call, whether that is open up a call for the first time, closing the deal, or doing a repeat business. Use that pen as a way of establishing control. And if they're getting a pen, they must have the money. If they're getting a pen, they must be able to make their own decision. If they're getting a pen, they must be interested in your products or your service, your system, your company. Because why else would they fucking get it? Obviously, you need to still qualify in these areas, but that is my mindset. Going for the pen is really, really going to be the first stage of you establishing control and teaching them something. Because without control, how can you teach them something? And if they're not being taught something which they see as valuable, why would they be interested? And if they've got no interest, they won't have the desire to take action. Everything's linked, but you've got to make sure that you do the fundamentals at the very, very, very beginning. We've heard of ADA, which is attention, interest, desire, action, and this is part of it. Grabbing a pen and piece of paper is definitely part of ADA. I think that is basically a little bit of information that you can implement into your sales company, whether that is telephone sales, marketing, estate agency, face-to-face sales, you name it. I think this is really going to help you, because it's definitely helped me. Thank you for everything that you've done for me, because I've been getting some really, really nice messages recently, and I'd love to hear from you once more. Please subscribe. Please share it on your stories. I'll try and repost as many as I can on your main feed on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. The more you repost it, the more you share it, the better it is for myself, of course, but hopefully the people that need to find this content is going to be good for them as well. Also, guys, I share my podcast on Mimboso, which is the wellness app. You can find it on iTunes, and you can also find it on the App Store, should I say, and also on Android. Excuse me. Find it on there. It's a really cool platform, and it's something that was about to blow up. Okay, guys, be happy, never content, absolute, smash your fucking Wednesday, take over the world, and become the best version of you. God bless.